And welcome into Street News Now. SNN is Five Guys and you, and you, and you, and you over there in the corner. Please remove your hand from that area. You catch us every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, and 6 p.m. on the West Coast. And once again, it's Lee Michaels, it's Dr.Ron, Professor Reggie Miles, Francisco Costa, and myself, Chris Bass. Go to YouTube and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Catch us on YouTube, Facebook Live, and also Twitter and Twitch. And make sure you're a part of what we're doing. We're going to spread the word, and make sure the word is spread. Like, let it be broke. We're going to let it be broke down. Thank you so much for being here. So here's the deal. So our fearless leader is still trying to find the meaning of life. And then Professor Reggie Miles has to go on assignment. And Francisco Acosta, I don't give a damn where he is, but he's not here right now. So it's me and this man, Dr. Ron Ford. Doctor, how you doing, sir?
Hey, man, I am alive and well. That is it. That is all. Man, I'm still glad to be here, brother.
Absolutely. Always glad to hear you, man. So we're going to hold it down for everybody until they get back in their respective times. So how's your day been so far, sir?
Man, I have no complaints. You know, in Chicago, the weather got really, really good. It dropped from 90 all the way down to like 70 today. You know, so it was cool. You know, saved some money, on the air conditioning. So, man, I love it when you can save some money, brother. You know, that's money out of my pocket I ain't got to give up. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Yeah, I love it.
That's all right there. So let us begin. So, Dr. Ron, what's on the docket for today?
I got an interesting, public service announcement that I feel that we must make. You know, we being brothers in media, in light of what's going on around the country, I need to make sure that we are, aware and our eyes are open. So, public service announcement today.
Okay, well, that's a good tease. Well, we'll take that. And also, what I have on the docket today, the canceling of Black-themed programming. I know it's a pattern between last year and this year, and nothing to do with the COVID situation. It's something to do with the fact that maybe the programming that we're seeing, the show I'm going to get into in a little bit, maybe it's too close to home, maybe it's too real, or maybe America does not want themselves filmed or have people to think. And that'll be coming up next later on. So again, it's always great for you to be here. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Share. You can have your chair if you sit down. Of course, share what we have going on around here, and make sure you type in the conversation, and so we can put on the screen so you can be heard. Dr. Ron, what you got for? I know you had. I know one thing you want to talk about was a certain tribute that you want to give out to a certain special young lady.
Yes, Suzzanne Douglas. Suzzanne Douglas was an alumni at the high school that I went to, Thornton Township High School in Harvey, Illinois. And I tell you, yesterday the news came out that she had passed away, and it was kind of a sad moment because, she was very sweet. She had played many roles in the industry where she was a very positive role model in the industry. And I tell you, it was very difficult to see, that she had passed away, at such an early age. She's only 64 years old. Actually, I'll be 64 next month. But, it's just very, very heartbreaking, to see that beautiful young lady, not here with us anymore.
Yeah, that was I don't know, for me, the first time I really got pay attention to her was in the movie Tap with Gregory Hines. And she was a great compliment to his character. There's a wonderful scene where, they grew up together at the sunny side of the street back in the day. And then you was able to watch them do their Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers routine cheek to cheek on the rooftop of the building. And it was very romantic. It was very well choreographed. And she had all this elegance and grace that she displayed, whether she was dancing or not, even in her, character she played. You fast forward to when she played opposite Robert Townsend on The Parenthood that aired on syndication television. But again, she struck me as someone who just had this great poise. No matter what role she did, it was just, you knew you were getting the best.
Yeah. And she had studied in college, acting and singing and things, dancing, and she really came across really good as a tap dancer in that movie with so many great tap dancers from that era. You're talking about Sammy Davis Jr., Gregory Hines, Sandman. I mean, they had all of the greats in that movie, and she fit right in there. And she did not, look like she was out of place at all. Yeah, very well moved, very very well done movie.
Yeah, and she
Yeah.
held her own. And again, like you saw these legendary tap dancers, even the upcoming ones like Savion Glover. He was a child of
Yep.
being in the movie, and we saw what happened to his career after that by being aligned with a Gregory Hines. And of course, Gregory Hines being the choreographer of the whole movie. Again, it's not everybody that can really come into a situation like that and hold their own and make sure their character is not faded away. She was just as important as other characters were. Now, I followed her work ever since. And again, I just, when I think about Suzzanne Douglas, I think about the word grace comes to mind immediately.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, she would
Yeah,
be missed.
she will be. And I'm sure the high school itself will probably do something to memorialize her, because we've had actually quite a few celebrities in sports, in theater, music to come from there. Me, yeah, to come from that school. So, it is, something that you definitely not go unnoticed or uncelebrated. Yes.
And give us that high school again, sir.
Thornton Township High School, Harvey, Illinois. It's a south suburb of Chicago.
Do they have a Hall of Fame there?
They had a hallway of fame.
A hallway of fame. Okay. Well, that makes sense. I'm just checking it because I mean, something like they said before about people who went on to greater and better things afterwards. You usually create an event like that, like a hallway of fame.
Yeah, it was several people that went back to Lou Boudreau. Lou Boudreau was an alumni of Thornton, and he was a baseball legend, along with being a legend of other things. But he was acknowledged at Thornton as well. Yep.
That's cool, but she would definitely be missed. And I thank you for the tribute because I was just thinking about her the other day, and someone like that who passed away, really kind of similar to Gregory Hines. You can't believe that they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
They had so
Yeah,
much life while they were here. The thing about them being gone just doesn't connect.
you're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely correct. I don't know if you remember the Tom Joyner show when they used to talk about Uncle Butchie.
Yes.
He was an alumni of Thornton.
See.
Yeah, he and his wife both met at Thornton, and they went on to do great musical things as well. Yep, he passed away a few years back. Yeah,
Man.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry to hear that, but her work and her family and friends, many condolences to them. But her spirit lives on through her work and through them as well.
Yeah. She will
Absolutely.
not be forgotten, as they often say, never forgotten, never,
No,
because her work is still in existence. It's still out there. Yep.
that's right. All right. Thank you for that, Dr. Ron. So
hmm
the table's yours, man. Go into what are you going to talk about?
Well, uh, like I said before, I feel like we need to make a public service announcement. This was brought to my attention by, actually another colleague of mine. He mentioned the fact that all across um, the United States, there are many states that are making it allegedly okay to carry weapons without any type of permit, open carry, concealed carry. They have many states that have made it legal. Some effective as of July, and like in Tennessee. And I feel like it's very necessary to say this, because sometimes if you don't say it, somebody says, nobody told me. Well, you're going to hear it from us today, from me especially. If you are black and brown or any other shade other than, European, do not attempt to carry a weapon in the open, because it could very well easily end your life. Now, let me give you a story to back that up. I was looking at this story that occurred in Colorado. A hero bystander took down a gunman who killed a cop. Then an officer shot him by mistake, police says. So basically, what happened was a gunman ambushed and killed a police officer last week in a midday attack in Denver suburb. Most witnesses scattered, ducking behind cars, and then ran for safety. But 40-year-old John Hurley moved towards the shooter, pulling out his concealed handgun and firing at the attacker. After the gunman fell, Hurley picked up the rifle the shooter had been carrying. Moments later, police pulled up to the scene, and one of the responding officers shot and killed Hurley, with the rifle still in his hand. So here's the scenario: a police officer gets shot and killed. A brother witnesses what just went down. He pulls out his concealed weapon, fires and shoots the gunman. He walks up to the corpse, picks up the rifle that he used to shoot the officer with, to take it into custody, to make sure nobody else picks it up and starts shooting. A police officer pulls up, sees a black man with a gun, and shot the man dead. He was a hero instantly. I mean, they say it was a mistake, okay, an accidental, wrong identity. But people got to stop being afraid of seeing black people with guns, first of all. Second of all, why are you firing your firearm without knowing what the scenario is? You just immediately start shooting because you see a black man with a gun and you're so afraid you got to shoot him down dead. And then you find out later that he was not the criminal. Then you go, oops. You know what I'm saying? That's not something that I don't want to see any more brothers have to go through, or their families. Because if you got a gun and you pull it out, I don't care if it's for good or bad or anything else, just the fact that you got it, you are in danger. These laws are not for us. And when I say us, I mean black people, brown people, people of color. These laws are not for us. These gun laws are for Europeans. Yes, I said it. Europeans. They're for Europeans. Europeans can walk around with a gun, pull it on somebody, and they can go to jail that night. But let a person of color, a black person, brown skinned person pull a gun for any reason, he going to the morgue. He ain't even going to go to the hospital. He going to go to the morgue. So when I say public service announcement, I want people to understand that there's more than one incident of these type of things happening. This is just one that just took place on last week. This man, it shook the Colorado city of more than 120,000 people began just before 1 p.m. The brother of 59, a 59-year-old Ronald, whatever his name, called the police to request a welfare check, fearing that um, that to be planned to do something. This guy was already was on the family radar that he was getting ready to do something. Police said that he ran back toward the square with an AR-15. Hurley confronted him, firing a fatal shot using his handgun. Another officer who was not named by police arrived a short time later, because they're hiding the police officer who did the killing. They don't even want to give his name up. But this is an example of what not to do. We had a similar situation here in the Chicagoland area, South Suburbs, Blue Island. One of the nightclubs, they had a gunshot go off in the nightclub. The security guard that was on duty in the nightclub had subdued the gunman, was holding him down. A police officer showed up and shot and killed the man. He's got security written all over his shirt, and the man is dead. They hid the identity of that man, from the public. And the state police called that a justifiable shooting here in the state of Illinois. So, I mean, we've got too many examples of people that are getting killed because they are under the assumption that they have a right to carry a gun and use it to stop crime. Okay. This is not our world. Okay. And we need to act like it ain't ours. If they ain't coming in your house, don't open fire. Don't be trying to be no hero, and don't be walking around trying to act like, oh, I got the right. No, you don't. Go ahead, Chris. I can do a rant, man. I can go on.
Well, no, I mean, no, your rant gives raves. It's a sad commentary where, again, here is this man who is really, by definition, like I said before, a hero.
Mm-hmm.
A man who was saving the day, a man who was doing his job. And because of his skin tone, Mr. Hurley is now not with us anymore. The fact that you're looking at the fact that this scenario will always continue. The fact that, again, you're just doing your job and someone looks at you and says gun and says shoot, and it's not even shoot to maim or shoot to wound, it is shoot to kill automatically. And that's the mentality that's being taught. And it's not going to go anywhere, unfortunately, because, again, there are a certain set of rules that are for certain people and not for us. It's always been this way. No matter how much you achieve in life, you can, you got to pay the piper in some way, shape, or form. You have to make sure that you know who to answer to. You may have achieved riches, you may have achieved fame and fortune, but you got to answer to somebody. And in a situation when it comes to having guns and the right to bear arms, no, it's not for us, because everything changes up. Exactly. When it comes to us, when we're concerned, everything changed. Oh, we didn't really mean you. We meant others. And then when it happens to you, well, look, we got to change everything up. And that's not right. And there's no right whatsoever, because you're giving the illusion that you have the right to carry. But then again, you've seen these happen on the fly. It's like they make up the rules as they go along. And once again, a certain set of rules for a certain amount of people and a certain amount of rules for somebody else. And to me, it's just the damnedest of shame, because in a perfect world, John Hurley would get the heroic accolades as he should.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is noteworthy on this article as well. Pete Blair, I'm going to call his name, executive director of a Texas State University group that trains law enforcement officers to respond to active shooters, told to the Denver Post that determinations can be difficult. You're asking people to make split-second decision about who's a good guy and who's a bad guy. And obviously, mistakes happen. That's what Blair said. So, you know, to me, in code, I hear, always shoot the black guy and ask questions later, because
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
teach in code. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know about the code. You see a black guy, he's automatically wrong. You see a black guy, he's automatically doing something wrong. He did something, even if it wasn't just now. 9 times out of 10, he's wanted. Pull him over, ask questions. You might be able to get a criminal off the street, by asking questions.
Hmm.
The way they teach law enforcement, we said this about a month or so ago. The way they teach law enforcement needs to be reorganized. It needs to be
Yes.
restructured. It needs to be readjusted, because they are teaching people to be in fear of innocent people just because of the skin color that they have. That's you know public service announcement. I want you brothers and sisters to do not fall for the rope a dope. Do not go out there carrying weapons thinking that you have the same rights and privileges of Europeans. I'm going to say it like that,
Yeah.
you know, because that could wind up you being dead,
Right.
and that's not, that's permanent, because they're not going to ask no questions. He's just going to pull up and start shooting. Now what?
Right.
And then, I used to run, I used to run with people back in the day. He said, don't call me first, call the police. Because, see, when I get there, I'm going to shoot them all and sort them out later. All the good people versus the bad people who needed to get shot and who didn't. I'm
Yeah.
like, just make sure you behind me when I show up. I was like, boy, you stupid.
Right. Right.
but it's still in effect. It's a caution, and it needs to be uttered. It needs to be given, because there's too many people that are getting shot by supposedly, air quotes, the trained professionals.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
The trained professionals. Okay. This guy should not be scared to take control of a scene and make sure, if he's going to fire his firearm, that he's shooting the right person.
But that's too much like right. If you're protected by the organization, by the police department, where you're able to have these, I guess, mercy kills, or whatever you want to classify it as, then you're protected, and nobody does any real time unless they just have no other choice but to have an independent investigation and then take it from there. But everybody's trying to cover everybody else's back because there's too much dirt on everybody else.
Yeah, I totally agree. We need to reorganize the police departments from coast to coast, top to
Mm-hmm.
bottom. I remember, okay, you're gonna make me go there.
No, I didn't. You went there yourself.
A few years back, when number 45 was at the graduation of the border police. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And he told him to go out there and rough some people up.
You sure did.
Out of his mouth. Now here's
Yes.
the commander in chief making a graduation speech, uttering a command like, "Go out there and rough them up."
Right.
Well, who is he giving that order to? Border Patrol police, who
Mm-hmm.
patrol our borders, who come in contact with, brown skinned people that come across the border. So he's literally giving them a blank check.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, look, talk about 45's ignorance. I mean, again, you got to consider the source of where it comes from at the time, him being the quote unquote, as you say, air quotation, the commander in chief or commander in thief. Here's a guy who pretty much was saying, look, it's okay to rough up these people. It's okay to go out there and do these type of nefarious things because he was co-signing, obviously, on that type of behavior. In fact, he was given not only a co-sign, but the high sign, the side sign, and everything else saying, go out there and do what you do.
Yeah. I totally agree with what Jed just said in his comment. I don't know if you see it on your side over there.
Oh, yeah, I put up there. Here you go.
Yeah. He said, whatever happened to peace officer?
Yeah.
Yeah, what did happen to that? That's a $10 million question. What happened to the peace officer?
Yeah. Well, now you can change the wording around, and now they have a peace officer, a PIECE at that point, because the word peace, as Jed has on it, was a very good point. That's non-existent.
Right.
Non-existent.
Yeah. I don't know if you got a chance to look at the local news in Chicago today, and the Chicago Attorney General for the city was investigating why there are not more Black and people of color in the police force, Chicago police force.
Mm-hmm.
So the disparity that our streets are being patrolled by people other than ourselves, and they don't have respect for us like a person, that is Black or of color. So they started saying that they're going to have to make changes in their hiring practices because they have had 37% every time they open up. They had 37% more Blacks and Browns apply for those positions, but only 18% get the job.
Mm.
So, the understanding that we will probably have a better survival rate if our neighborhoods are patrolled by us than by other people.
Mm.
So that statistic is out there, the information is out there. So now how are they going to actually go about correcting this? They're saying next year sometime we'll be able to address this. Well, hell, it's a problem now.
Right.
Every time you look around, one of these scared ass Europeans that carry a gun and a badge, is running over somebody, hitting somebody, shooting somebody, doing something to somebody because they're afraid of the neighborhood that they're assigned to serve and protect.
Makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah. I just had to give a public service announcement. Don't do it. Don't do it.
That's right.
Do not be the next statistic when it comes to a Black man with a gun doing something good got killed, because we will call your name on the show.
Yeah, there you go. In fact, we'll type it and put on the ticker at the bottom there, the banner, so everybody can see it as they emotionally go across the screen there as well. So you will be put on notice. I know it's been a little bit, Dr. Ron, but why don't you give us an ID for the show? It's been a little bit, so you have at it.
You are listening to the Street News Now Network. We are here with Five Guys and You each and every Thursday night. We have the legend, Mr. Lee Michael, who is out on assignment, making some money somewhere. We have the professor, Mr. Reggie Miles, who's also visiting with family on today that is having some personal issues. We also have Francisco, the Chocolate Yaddah, who is out on personal business for today. You have Chris Basis. I said Basis with an S. Chris Base, the Boomshockalaka. And then you have myself, So we're glad that you guys are tuning in, hanging out with us. I think Chris likes to hear me say that. You know, he wants me to emphasize his name, the Boom Shakalaka. You know.
I just realized something. I was doing when I was doing this. I was like, man, he hasn't done an ID in a long time. So I we owe you some.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
you know, if you notice, I still know how to do it. You know.
Well, you got down to a science, doctor.
Okay.
Yeah, there you
All
go.
right. Yep.
Oh, what was
Just said the
it?
tag team of truth. Go ahead. I beat you to it. I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's up there. It's up there. That's cool.
I'm sorry. I saw that and it came out my mouth.
Yeah, that's all right. It's like it's like a tie, like a 1 and 1A in the race. So there you go. Yeah, the tag team. Thank you, Jed. Thank you so much for being here as well.
Thank you. He follows my show on Tuesdays. Thank you for that too. You know, he makes comments. You know, it was funny. He was talking about some of the things out in California, and you know, all this time I didn't know he was in California until that day. You know? Yeah. So now I know.
Yeah, Jed's a good person. In fact, Jed followed me because I used to have I had a guest on last year named Phil Hendry. And Phil Hendry is a spectacular talk show host. He had his own thing going. He's just one of those different performers, does character voices and a good voiceover and a good actor. As a matter of fact, he's done a lot of sitcoms over the years. I had him on as a guest. So Jed had followed Phil, and based upon the interview I did with that, he started to follow my work, and it snowballed into what you're doing. So yeah, Jed is a good guy, and everybody that follows our work, don't take it for granted. We'd not be here had not been for you guys taking time out to put us into your schedule. Much love to you too, Jed. He's from the Redwoods.
Yeah, the Redwoods of California, man. I know him up close and personal.
There you go.
Yep. Yeah, them Redwoods ain't no joke, boy. Yep.
You from the Redwoods or Redbone?
No, Redwood. Those trees,
okay, just
man, that's like about 1,000 years old, boy. And
okay,
if you run into one of them, you in trouble. Because look, the redwoods are protected. Okay, yes. They'll put you in jail behind messing with a redwood tree in California.
I've heard.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yep. Go right ahead, my brother. What you got for us?
All right, thank you, sir. So for those of you, and I mentioned before in this program a while back about how we're connecting Black history into certain programming, whether it's television or movies, and you get a chance to have really the best of both worlds when you're able to take, for example, Lovecraft Country, which unfortunately will not return. You're dealing with Jim Crow era and supernatural stuff. So unfortunately, the HBO produced program Lovecraft Country will not go into its second season. It's doing a one and done. And for those of you who follow that type of genre, I followed it last year, this past year when it was on Amazon Prime. Again, another good program. When you're dealing with history and a genre, it seems to work. Even before that on HBO, when they produced Watchmen, starring Regina King was in the lead. And you dealt with the DC characters. They changed the format, made it more African-American centric. In fact, as I said before, you've seen it, the opening scenes, for example, for The Watchmen deals with the Tulsa, Oklahoma killings and bombings and destroying of Black Wall Street. You also found out about the first African-American U.S. Assistant Marshal in Bass Reeves. All these historical contents that had really changed the game. Because again, if you didn't know who these people were or the historical content, go Google it or go ask somebody who has more information about it, and you learn something. And you were very entertained by the genre that was connected to it. So between Lovecraft Country being canceled, and now before that, with the HBO special of The Watchmen being canceled after 1 year, I don't know. I don't like the pattern that's here because it's so much more of the story that we can see. It's so much of the character involvement, and once again, it's great writing. All of a sudden, comes to a screeching halt. And this is what I mean. In the years I've talked about this, about having more of a control when it comes to producing. We need to control our own content. I know we have to pair up because of the money cachet like an HBO or Netflix, stuff like that. But it seems to me that they can have the right not to take it in for a second season or maybe a third season. So you're kind of playing with, not really house money, but the house money is their money, not your money anymore. It's supposed to be a partnership, but it's like an uneven partnership when it comes to that. And I'm for education. I'm for anybody trying to learn something. But when you take that away, it's like, is it too real? Educational wise, you don't want people to learn about a certain person's history? You don't want to know about Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Black Wall Street? What about, once again, Bass Reeves being the first African American, marshal in the United States of America? I mean, what's going on around here? And now this whole thing with Lovecraft Country that dealt with, again, Jim Crow era America and them being monster slayers. And combine that with the real monster slayers of real life of black folk versus white folk. I mean, come on. It just happened to fit. And it was set in Chicago. It dealt with the classism of the South Side versus the North Side and blacks and whites and everything else. Again, taking content from historical matters. For it to be removed, I just have an issue with that. And probably because, I got my 10 foil hat going, conspiracy hat going on here, that maybe it's a little bit too deep for a certain part of America, and maybe the fad of everything black. Because once again, I believe the following: that after the murder of George Floyd, all of a sudden we started to see influx of black programming, whether it's on radio or digital or television or movies. All of a sudden, all this black stuff started to come out, and maybe because the so-called fad has weighed it out, or maybe to some executives we don't need it anymore. I don't know. It just seems kind of strange. It's very strange to me.
And then that series also covered on the Tulsa, Oklahoma incident as well.
Right. It did.
Yeah, they one of the things that's disturbing to the viewing public is when they start using Hollywood dollars or Netflix dollars or whoever dollars, HBO dollars, to create or recreate historical events that have happened in American history. This stuff takes on a different view of themselves, and it's like holding a mirror up to a evil person's face, and they don't like what they see.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, wow, did I do that? Yes, you did. And some, So, and I think that particular series was patterned after a group of books. I think they took it directly out of some books. It was a series of books.
Yes.
And I think that they were going to go from one chapter to the next, or, of that book. And it may still come back. One thing I know about black productions, they don't go away and stay gone, especially when there's a demand for something, and this was a crazy blend of science fiction and history, futuristic things, kind of like a Jules Verne thing,
Yes.
like Jules Verne's, had some future and past and all of these kind of things going on.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, that was okay, because it was Jules Verne, but this all of a sudden, oh no, we can't tell these stories, because we start to look like, the European killers of the world that we really are. Right.
Right. But
look, since I don't have the buttons like the other guys, gotta have to use my own sound effects. Don't.
I like your sound effects better. It's original. But it's the truth. I mean, once again, it's based upon something that happened in this country, that continues to happen in this country, and that's racism. So when you're able to take that and spin it into what you said before about a supernatural program, that is actually a good show. It has a very strong following, one of HBO's strongest produced shows, especially during the pandemic. And all of a sudden it's just taken away for not even the second season. And you're right. I hope it comes back. Somebody should pick it up to continue the storyline, because once again, every time everything is about metrics and numbers. The numbers proved it, that it was doing well. And once again, you're just in shock. Like, wait a minute, you don't get a year two, and what's the real reason? So I said before earlier, if you're able to have more control of the images that we put out ourselves, if we're able to get more control from a monetary standpoint, we don't have to worry about this type of crap.
That's true. And my money's on Netflix. You know, Netflix have picked up and started producing a lot of Black directors and Black stories. So Netflix is a force to be reckoned with. You know, when you can't go to Disney, you can always go to Netflix. You know, so I believe that show will probably find a home somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, because it had all the elements that will allow a story to, you know, to do well. You
Right.
know? Yeah.
Well, I hope Netflix picks it up, because Netflix recently did a one and done with a non-African American genre series. It's based on superheroes called Jupiter's Legacy, which is another, because I follow the legacy. I'm on the legacy, but I follow the genre of superhero movies and anything else like that. Another great storyline. Is what's selling these days, and it happened to work for season one. It was once again their second highest rated program on Netflix. They had at one point 6.8 million viewers watching the show on a consistent basis, and they let that go production wise. So they said it was too expensive. Meaning, going back to the Jupiter's Legacy people, it was too expensive to create. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Hollywood doing something that maybe we're not familiar with. Maybe they're thinking that the superhero genre with certain production companies maybe they need to go out of style and just let the others take care of it, like your Marvel and DC and other like that takes care of that type of genre. But it seems to me, look, if it makes sense, it makes dollars, it makes sense. And so I'm curious of why they're dropping these formats. And once again, I'm holding on what you said, Dr. Ron, that somebody will be smart enough to pick it up and continue its production run.
Yeah. You know, it's hard to say why, who got mad, you know, who wanted more money, you know, because it's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. You know, I make it akin to, or I relate to it akin to, like they do in professional sports. You know, when you got an all-star team, and then one of the jokers on the team said, "Well, I want $30 million for this year," you know, and they looking at me, "We got a salary cap. We can't give you $30 million. Well,
Right.
you know, I don't want to be here then, you know, and then now you ain't got a team like you had before. You know,
Right.
things like that happen, you know, because everybody wants to get the maximum out of whatever successes they are involved in, you know. So I can see behind the scenes there probably was some, we probably won't hear about it until we're standing in a grocery store line one day, and then on the tabloid they'll say, "This is why this show didn't continue," you know.
Yeah.
You know, because it'll sell a magazine, so it'll be a theory, I'm sure. Yeah.
Man, it's more than a notion. So keep your fingers crossed on that. And if we get a chance, we have more information about that. If they are able to use that into another production company, we'll do just that. I've got some more comments here. Let me get this from Jed. The Boys was my favorite superhero, right? And I think it is going for another season. Maybe Hulu will pick up Lovecraft Country. They have the Handmaid's Tale, which scares the hell out of me. How 45 and his crew view women in their perfect society. I have heard nothing but great things about the Handmaid's Tale. I unfortunately do not have Hulu. I got enough of these digital programming platforms, but I'm spending enough money as it is. And I like The Boys too. I watched The Boys as well, that Jeff's referring to. Looking forward to the next season coming up. But again, these genres work. They work and they get the money. So yeah, you probably know somebody got pissed off, or always something personal. Always about, the whole thing about business and personal. It's always personal. So I'll be curious down the road to find out what happens, because again, the numbers don't lie. These people like it, they gravitate towards it, they start their own fan pages, everything else, and it takes a life of their own.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not familiar with I'm familiar with the Handmaiden story.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't get wrapped up into it, so I kind of like pulled back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not familiar with the boys, not at all. Um, and then to get Hulu, now I can tell you how to do that once we get off air.
Okay, great.
I'm not I'm not gonna blow it out on the air like that, but I'll
Oh,
tell
no,
you
no, no.
about it off when we off air. How to get
Oh, okay.
Hulu. There you go. Yeah.
Oh, help.
Back in the day in Chicago, it's so funny. Brings me to mind of some other crazy stuff we used to do back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
When before cable was a very big thing all over the city of Chicago, we used to have this thing called On TV.
Yes.
And then when cable started, uh, it was not digital. So if you had the right filters, you can pick up movie channels on your basic cable TV.
Mm-hmm.
You just put the filter in there, bam, you got it. And all the cable installers were, doing underground filter sales, And if a person got their cable cut off, where they physically went out there and snipped the line, then you still had the filters,
Right.
so that you can sell those and, make some wine money. Don't ask me how I know that, but
I won't ask. I shan't. But you mentioned about I'm sorry. Go ahead. About on TV and everything.
I was gonna say it was some underground. It's always an underground way of doing things. Is my point.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah, I remember back in the day. So before they merged, you had On TV and Spectrum. So we had Spectrum first, and then of course the two merged and became one On TV. So they used to have the parental lock for porno flicks after midnight.
Mm-hmm.
So as a young youth, I would get upset because I couldn't watch any porno flicks after midnight. So I would get aluminum foil from the kitchen and try to mess around with the antennas on top of the TV. And I figured if I put some more aluminum on it, it would get the picture straight. And sometimes it did.
Yeah. At least you got creative and scientific. I'll be sitting there watching them squiggly lines that they had on the TV.
I did too.
The squiggly line. And
Squiggly
I'm like,
lines.
ooh, that's a titty. Ooh,
like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, that goes there. Oh, got it. Okay, great. I was like, let me jot this down. That goes there. Yeah,
oh man, childhood, the things you do.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, try to be creative.
Yeah.
Also, hopefully you won't get busted. Speaking of busted, what's your take on Sha'Carri Richardson? This is the sprinter who got tested for weed there in Colorado, which is legal, and that was not had to to do like 30 days suspension, but then turned to find out for the Tokyo race for the the 400 meters that she was supposed to be on that. Now she won't even do that.
Well, I like the young lady. Me personally, I don't have any issues with weed. I know folks got issues with weed, and I don't have issues with weed.
Right.
And eventually it's going to just addressing the weed issue. When it becomes legal in the United States, then all the people that have been persecuted for their use and having it and being involved in it, then they're going to try and undo it. I know right now it's still under federal law that it's not legal, but it's a lot of states that are making revenue and have legalized it, and it's doing what it does. It's not harming people to any great degree. Now, the young lady admitted she took full responsibility. She's a grown woman. She's not a kid. She got a kid. And she just happened to be one of the best runners that this country had to offer. So, yes, she broke a rule. Yes, she failed the drug test, but even smoking a joint, still couldn't nobody beat her. You know, it was not
Mhm.
a performance enhancing drug, so like a steroid or something like that. It was a joint, and she smoked it trying to relax from dealing with whatever the stresses of the world had to offer in her life.
Right.
Okay. So, currently today on the news, the pandemic has flared up in Japan to the point where there will not even be any, people in the stands, and you will not be able to go to Japan and fellowship and spend
Mhm.
money trying to get that economic recovery that they wanted to try to have by having this event.
Right.
So I think she probably benefited herself, unknowingly by not going, because now she's not going to run into any risk of getting sick, coming in contact with something that could be far more deadlier than a joint. Hello,
Yeah.
So I think that if the Olympic Committee or that corporation or that business would evaluate the risk to the best athletes in the world, they would probably skip this Olympic instead of trying to force something to happen that could be very dangerous to all those that attend. Because you're
Yeah.
trying to force people from all over the world to come together. Now they've already started picking on Africa, the Caribbean, Cuba,
Mhm.
talking about, well, they don't have the vaccine, they can't come. They've already started that conversation.
Right.
Okay. So, you know, then is it going to be a true test of the best athletes of the world if you're starting to exclude athletes from certain parts of the world?
Well, it makes all the sense in the world. I mentioned about this topic on my Friday baseline show last week, that we have the rules, and rules are rules, and I understand that. And as Jay just typed in, he got ahead of me about when she found out about her biological mother had passed away through a press conference, and she was
Mhm.
trying to deal with that. Just trying to deal and smoke the weed to to deal with the situation, and was there other things she had to deal with combined with that. So, but here's the thing, and she knew this too. Experts were saying that she would be the darling of the Olympics before we found out about the whole thing about COVID. That she would make all this money, projected to make all this money, spend on the Wheaties box and everything else. My thing is this: you can wait about smoking the weed. Just take care of your business in Tokyo, do what you gotta do, and smoke all the weed afterwards. You know what I'm saying? I know people do things. Everybody's human, and she did. She, to her credit, she did fess up to it. She didn't hide from trying to give you the the banana in the tailpipe situation. She fessed up to it, and I admire her for being that strong to do so. The fact that these rules are in place for a reason, and you know what the deal is. So I'm sorry that she had went to, because once again, the different rules for you, me, and then somebody else always applies the situation, and they do have to re-examine this thing when it comes to weed. Now, mind you, this is Colorado where it's legal at.
Right.
But again, that wasn't part of Olympic Committee, because you said before, Olympic Committee more so corporation than committee. So I understand that. And plus, maybe they want her out of the game anyway, because she does not look like the quote unquote all American girl, if that makes any sense. She got the hair, she got the nails, she got the eyelash, everything else. And I'm sure certain people corporate, well, that's not the look we really want. They have to be, hate to say it, white bread, have that quote unquote American look. And maybe this was all done in a reason not to have her go over there in the first place. So we just don't know. Going back to putting the aluminum foil cap on my head for conspiracy theories. It wouldn't surprise me a bit, because again, we're looking at someone with the potential and still has it to, as she could, go over there and just blow up everything and be the star of not only the track and field, but Olympics in general.
Yeah. And I don't think they can stop her from being a star. I
No, no,
think
no, no.
that I think that whatever that she's not to participate in the Olympics, I think it'll be the Olympics loss because they will not be able to capitalize off of her celebrity
Mm-hmm.
and what she goes on to do. Her story is already, capable of being a movie,
Right.
overcoming, all the things that she had to overcome in order to
Mm-hmm.
be a champion, because she's still going to be a champion when she wakes up in the morning.
She's a champion now. Absolutely.
Yep. They can't take that away from her.
No.
She beat everybody's ass. ASS. not,
Yes, she did.
not, not the one you say I always be saying.
No, not the original ass, right?
ASS. Yeah, that one.
That's right.
She proved herself to be a champion.
Yes.
And I applaud her. And whatever comes down the road for her, I know that Nike said they were not taking back their endorsement. So
That's
there's
good.
some people smart enough not to get off of her.
Well, they see the bigger picture in the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so you can't take away the star quality because it's already out there. The Olympic Committee choose not to bank upon that for every reason that they have, regardless of the rules and the smoke and stuff like that. But the fact that anybody else sees, you know what, they see that they want to get on board with the Miss Richardson train and, ride it out. Absolutely. She got the star power.
Yeah. Yeah. She's gonna be, and ain't nothing they can do about it.
Nope.
She's gonna be all of that and a bag of chips, with her face on the Wheaties box and everything else, because I cannot predict the future and I don't want to, but I think if we look seriously at this Olympics that's coming up, it's going to be the super spreader.
Yeah.
That all of the people are concerned that it's capable of being. Now you've already taken away the audience. Now what about the talent? You gonna still make them come? I mean, is that one of those situations where we don't care about the talent? We just want the money from the event?
Yeah. Once again, trying to recap from the loss of last year or any type of corporation with sponsorships, they're trying to get some money back, which is why everybody coast to coast getting back out there. You still got to do, as we say here, 12 feet apart. As Lee would say, do 12 feet apart. Make sure you wash your yas. Make sure you brush your teeths. Make sure you wear a double mask. Because you got to go out here and social distance, regardless of getting the shots or not. You just got to still follow the protocol.
Exactly, because this thing is not over with.
No.
I tell them all the time, man, it's not over with. There's going to be more people to die from this thing. Now they're talking about a third shot that's needed, with the Pfizer.
Pfizer with third shot, like booster shot.
Yeah. I ain't gonna touch that.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
Yeah.
Let's see real quick before we get out of here. Jed says the Olympics have a super creepy history. Surprise, a lot of athletes are still willing to participate. Well, Jed, I mean, the thing about that real quick is a lot of these athletes, that's all they have. They just have the Olympics. They build all their lives for it. They train for it. They invest their money into it. So now the payoff, obviously, is to get the Olympics and do your thing and be a superstar if you can. You're going to get something out of it once you, get out of the Olympics. You will have that with you, especially when you contend, especially when you, get on the medal, depending on what medal you get. And please, I mean, that's a market agency right there. Somebody gonna look at you, gonna have you come on board the agency, gonna try to woo you over, and they'll do their best, obviously, to get you that bag, as they say, for your services and for your likenesses and everything else.
Yeah, I think that when we learn how to market ourselves and capitalize off ourselves, like they just gave permission to the college athletes to do now.
Yes, that's great.
I think that is going to be a door to fling open. That's going to be great for all amateur athletes.
Mm-hmm. Makes all the sense in the world to me. Dr. Ron, do you have any closing remarks before we get out of here?
No, I just want to reiterate that public service announcement. Do not fall for the rope-a-dope. Keep your guns out of sight and don't try to be no hero. Stay safe.
Well, there you go. And with that note, this has been Street News Now, SNN, Five Guys and You. It's been two of us because everybody else has been like, okay, we're not going to show up. And that's okay. Catch us every Thursday at 9 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. on the West Coast. Make sure you go to our YouTube channel and type in SNN Street News Now. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. You catch us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. For the guru, Lee Michaels, for Professor Reggie Miles, for Francisco Acosta, and of course, the gentleman, of course, on that side, did a fantastic job as always, Dr. Ron Ford. I am Chris Bates. We'll see you next Thursday. Take care, and thank you out there for participating. Be peaceful.
Peace.